What I'd like to do with the time that I have with you is to probably try to accomplish two things. One, in 32 years, I've certainly been around the block in this industry. And I'd like to share with you, first of all, how I started, how bad it was, the worst thing that ever happened to me in network marketing, what I needed to learn to shift from not so good to really knowing what to do. Would that be of interest to you? Now, as a teacher, I've been teaching. Some of you may know I'm a former university professor in the field of psychology and sociology. And as a teacher, I always try to give my students things that could shift them from where they were in life to a new place that they wanted to be in life. Well, let me tell you what I know about human nature. Most people will not. Isn't that unfortunate? What I'm going to say right from the beginning, it's not that you don't know what to do, it's that you know what to do, you just won't do it. How truthful is that for most people? So let me start by telling you my network marketing story. There was an associate dean that worked with me that reported to me, and at this time I was a dean of a senior college of business. And he told me that his wife had a silly little business. Now, this is 32 years ago. So he represented his wife's business as being silly. Now, we would not have 9 children if I suggested to my wife anything she was doing was silly. So he said, my wife Patty is having one of her meetings on Monday night, and she'd love for you to attend. And after him disclosing the silly little business aspect, what would you do? You're thinking, man, that's wonderful. I can't wait to get there. So I made an excuse like I was busy, whatever. Now we're going to teach you right from the beginning what happens when you're persistent. That was the first week. The second week, he came at me again. He always got me when I was at the drinking fountain because I couldn't answer fast then. And he told me again about his wife's having her meeting. Would you please come and attend? She'd love you to attend. I made up another excuse. Now it's the third week. I made another excuse. The fourth week, I made another excuse. The fifth week, I made another excuse. Now I'm going to tell you something right now. About 90% of the people in this audience were probably gone and never thought of me again after the first or second. Are you learning anything? On the 6th invitation, I ran out of excuses. So I said, okay, I'll come this evening. I went home, and I said to my wife, we're going out this evening. And on the amount of money we were making, that meant the Spaghetti Palace, $1 a meal, all you can eat. And she said, where are we going? I said, we're going to Patty's got some kind of a business meeting, and she's invited me to go over there. Why don't you come along? And she said, doesn't Patty sell soap and pills? I said, I'm not sure what Patty sells. I said, but I'm not interested anyway. And she said, well, why don't you go ahead alone? I'll stay home with the children. And I said, fine. And I got out and I got in my car. And just as I was ready to leave, she came to the back door and she gave me one of these. You guys know what that means. Hold it, I got something to say. So I rolled down my window. Did you notice I didn't give it one of these? I rolled down my window and I looked out. I said, yes. And she said, remember, George, college deans do not sell soap and pills. What an encouraging way to go, huh? But I wasn't interested anyway, so that was good advice. I'm driving to the meeting, and as I was driving and getting closer to their home, I started to pray a little bit, and here was my prayer. God forbid any faculty member I ever worked with be at that meeting tonight. Did I have a problem? I had a huge ego problem. After all, selling was so undignified for a professor. No, you just have title and no money. So I got to the meeting. Things got worse. As I got into the meeting, there's 13 women. A guy about this high looked 100 years older than me, and me. Now, you can imagine me trying to hide. I went to the back of the room. Think of this. That was like trying to hide a pregnant elephant on a tight wire. So I sat back there, and they started talking about their product. And I said, thank God I'm not interested. This pill makes you jump higher. This pill takes care of arthritis. This pill you need for this one and that one. And then finally they put a little green bottle up, and this is nature's scrub brush. I said, this ought to be good. Yeah, you take it every day and it detoxifies the body. You got the picture? It's going to make you normal. Boy, I couldn't wait to get started. Well, the meeting went on. They were done with the products, and I was delighted to know I wasn't interested in a single thing. And then that little guy that looked 100 years old, he got up, and this man changed my life. He got up and he said, my name is Armand. I'm from Canada. I work in a factory in the United States for 35 years. And I make a brake shoe for automobile. And I retire. I'm now 72-year-old, and I retire when I'm 65. And one day I'm 69, 68, 69, and my wife, Peggy, she come to me and she say, Armand, you must go back to work. I said, Peggy, I work all my life. What do you mean go back to work? Why? Because we are still alive and we are running out of money. That was a human interest story to me, and I kind of liked this guy. I didn't know what he was going to say next, but I kind of warmed up to the vulnerability of his story. And then he said, my wife, Peggy, and I, a friend called us to come see the network marketing, direct selling business. And they say, don't worry, Armand, if you cannot sell. This business will take anybody. And he says to his wife, Peggy, we are anybody. Let's go see. So I'm listening to him, and I'm saying, this is pretty fascinating. I wonder where it's going. And then he said, my wife, Peggy, and I, we work as husband-wife team. Huh, Peggy? Peggy goes, yes, Armand. And today, 3 years later, we earn $10,000 a month. I almost fell off my chair. That was more than 3 times what I was earning, and it took me many years to qualify to earn it. The guy went to 5th year education, 5 years of formal schooling. He didn't speak the Queen's English. He was in a foreign country for him. He started a business at 69 years old. And at 72, he was earning 3 times a month more than I was. All of a sudden, whatever that stuff was on the counter that I didn't like, I was warming up just a bit. Well, I'm going to give you your PhD in network marketing right now if you're ready for it, because this is when he gave it to me. Are you ready for it? After the meeting ended, he went up to that table, and he had 2 shopping bags, one inside another. This was the level of sophistication for $10,000 a month. And he started putting those products in those 2 bags. And I went up to him, all the ladies left. And I said, Armand, my name is George Zalucki. I said, God, I am impressed. That was clearly a euphemism for I am jealous. I said, can I ask you a question? He said, yes, you can ask me a question. I said, tell me, how can a guy like me who's only been a teacher and a coach get into this thing, network something, and make $10,000 a month? Now, why did I ask that question? Why do you think I asked that question? Because that sounded good to me. Does it sound good to you? Well, why don't you ask for what you want in life instead of praying all the time and wondering whether it's ever going to come to you? Prayers without works mean nothing. Faith without works means nothing. So, oh, he said, big man, you would like to earn $10,000 a month? I said, yes, that would be nice. He stood right in front of me, and he was about this high, I swear. I'm big, but this guy was small. And he's looking up like this, and he said, I ask you a question, big man. Listen to the question. Listen to it. Will you, big man, as represent 1 year of your life, I don't care if you do full time or you do with your spare time. You just have more time to do same simple things. You don't look over your shoulder left for 1 year. You don't look over your shoulder right for 1 year. You focus your mind, and you will succeed. Can you do that? He said. And I answered like most people. I was not quite advanced at that point in how things really get done. So I said, well, I think I can do that. And here's what he did. Oh, no, he said. Did I ask you, will you give 1 year of your life, no turn back effort, no look back left, no look back right, focus your mind? Did I ask you that question? By this time, I'm getting a little irritated. I said, yes, you asked me that question. He said, then, big man, you have yes or you have no. Now pick one. I said, yes, I'll do it. Now here's the best training I ever had in my life about success. What he said right now. Here's what he said. That's good, big man. I can teach you no more. Now I'm going to tell you something. If I walked off this stage right now and you understood the power of that man's instruction, you can do anything. The problem is, folks, we start something and we lose focus. We let the little minds in life take away the big dreams, don't we? The little voices that you have in you from your past failures, they keep chipping away at your will to persevere. Yes or no? You think it's any different for me? I've just learned you need to tell those people inside of you to shut up. Well, I got started in the business, and here's the way I approached it. Here's the mistake. Don't make it. ACN has a system for you. Just follow the system. And so if you want success, you better understand Newton's law. For every positive, there's a negative. For every plus, there's a minus. For every dreamer, unfortunately, there's about 1,000 dream stealers. You've got to know. So I got started approaching the business the way I approach the world of academia. Study, 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 get smart. Isn't that it? In other words, some of you learn everything about the rates, learn everything about the competition, learn everything about everything except how to make money. Some of you are going to have that disease. And I'm warning you right now, you don't know the business you're in. So anyway, I did it George's way. And I studied and I studied and I studied. I could have taught at a university in bionutrition because I had to know what every single vitamin did, every molecule in your body, how it responded to it. And guess what? Oh boy, was I feeling good. Because I could go into a home night after night, and if there were 10 people in that home, 8 would buy product. I got so good at it that the company called me, and this was only in my second year, and said, you are in the running for #1 in the world in group sales. I said, how the heck did that happen? I didn't even know I was in a race. All I knew was what I knew about selling and studying and selling and information. Some of you will have that disease too. You better get over it. And then I learned about how full of beans people are. See, I used to believe when you had kind of surface relationships with people, colleagues around you, where nothing's ever tested, you all moan about the same things. Okay, you all share the homogenized life of mediocrity. You see, I had to learn that as you get closer to people where commitments are made or broken, where words are kept or unkept, people reveal themselves. And boy, you can pretty quickly sort who's real and who's not real. Well, I had my group. I had 5 representatives in my group. I had sponsored 5. And every Saturday we had a breakfast. And every Saturday I'd get up and motivate my team. Didn't do any good. Every Saturday they waited for me to do it again. And then every Saturday after that, they waited for me to do it again. And whenever they needed a presentation, they called George. Come on over to my friend's house and sell them some vitamins. And old dumb George would just go right ahead and work like a mule. And they'd buy the product. And my group sales just kept beaming. But I wasn't making any real money. Here's the next thing I did. In case you think this is just going to fall your way, I'm giving you a short course on how to get there faster. Then I'd say to my group, hey, guess what? They said, what? There's a lady in Chicago that's speaking next Saturday, and she's selling the cosmetic line. You know what I heard from all 5 of them? Well, we ain't going to sell none of that stuff. I said, well, wait a minute. Are there women in the world? What happens if a husband joins us and the wife wants to sell cosmetics? Come on, guys, let's go. Plus, we'll learn how she's doing it. Guess what? Here's what I would hear. Oh, you're going to drive 265 miles one way, go to a meeting, and come back 265 miles? You're going to buy us lunch? Sickos. Losers. They don't understand how the world works. You got to give before you take. It's a law of the universe. It's a forgotten law for all too many. What's in it for me? It's got to go out before it comes in. And I'll give you some news. What you're putting out is going to come back. It's a discovery of life when you recognize where you are is where you thought yourself to be. There is no action in humanity that is not first stimulated by a human thought. Therefore, you create reality by your thinking, which means your reality is being created in an ongoing fashion, moment by moment by moment, because your thoughts determine what you understand and see. Yes or no? See, no 2 people see the same reality. It's impossible. Because all of us have different backgrounds, different intelligence, different educations, different upbringing, different cultures. Think about it. Those are the filters in your life for what you see in the present moment. So you don't see real reality. You see what you think is reality, and so do all of us. Now, once you learn that, do you understand that you are a creator of your life? Through the medium of your thoughts. Your thoughts will evoke your feelings. Your feelings is reciprocal and will evoke more thoughts. So what if your feelings are negative? What if your feelings are full of doubt and confusion? What do you think your thoughts are going to be in the cycle of feedback? It's going to make you powerless. So you need to, if you want to change your life, you have to understand, you have to change your thinking. Can you get it? Yes. It's amazing that great teachers, great philosophers, great religious leaders through all of history have taught us about the power of the nature of our thoughts. And we go right through life with habitual negative thinking, not knowing the consequence that follows. Whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, Henry Ford said, you are right. Milton, the mind is its own place. It can make a heaven of a hell and a hell of a heaven. The mind. Aristotle said this. He said, success and excellence is a habit. Is a habit. What kind of habit? The habit of developing right thinking over a period of time that you do right things. Dr. William James, the father of American psychology, said it this way. A human being can alter the circumstances of their lives by altering their attitudes of their minds. How many times do we need to hear it before we get it? And yet we will allow our minds to be reduced to the lowest common denominator of inspiration which surrounds us. Negative, negative, negative. This world is full of people who, if you gave them a donut, they'd first try to eat the whole. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be direct with you. If you want to win, you need to change. If you're winning now, you probably have figured it out. I'm going to ask you a question. Why do you think 5% of the people in the world own 95% of the wealth? Did you ever ask that question? Well, here's what most people, they're lucky, they were born into it, they're more smarter than I am. No, not the case. No. You want to take and observe it? Why don't you observe the 5%? That'd be a starting point, wouldn't it? The 5% don't stop after 9 or 10 hours. They know that the number one asset for wealth is time. Time! That's the one resource every one of us has equally. The 5% are visionaries. They're willing to do over and over again simple things to amass a fortune. They're willing to wait, they're willing to sacrifice, and if you're not willing to do it, it isn't going to happen. You don't need another motivation talk. Haven't you had plenty of those? How have they worked so far? We need a transformation in how we think. We need new ideas. The only way the will is moved to something great is with a better idea to draw it forward. That's why you need to have goals. You can't hit a ball that you're not aiming at. You can't bring something into your life that you don't passionately want in your life. This world responds to passion. And we're so cool, huh? We walk around looking good and we're frightened to step out and speak to somebody and offer them something of value. Back to my story. The transformation in network marketing. I went to hear a guy who was making $8,000 a month. I thought God didn't even put that much money in anybody's pocket a month at that time. I got to go hear him. The guy's up on stage, they introduce him, he's a carpenter building houses. And he does this business and he's making $8,000 a month. I said, oh no, there's no way I'm not talking to him. So I got a hold of him when the meeting ended. I introduced myself. I said, listen, I just want 5 minutes, please. Why did I do that? Because good, successful people are nice people. You will find that out. They're willing to help someone else come along too. So I said, please tell me, how do you do it? $8,000 a month. Here's what he said. George, he said, let me ask you something. Why don't you tell me how you do it? I wasn't expecting that. And then I proceeded to say, wait till he hears my brilliance. And I started to tell him all about every product, and he just went like this. He said, George, you seem like a nice guy, but you're never going to make any money in network marketing. Hear the word? What was the word? Telephone sales? Vitamin sales? What was the word? Let me hear what the word was. You're not going to make any money in network marketing. Do you know that's what you're in? Some of you don't. You're in the business of helping people improve their lives. And it just so happens that we use the telephone products as a medium to transform lives. Leadership, inspiration. So the next thing I got was, you don't do network marketing, George. I said, what? You're never going to make any money until you understand the business you're in. The business you're in is to understand what's out in this world today. There are people struggling, trying to pay their bills. There are people in jobs they hate. And he said, don't get wrapped up in that. Lose your knowledge about bionutrition. I thought to myself, wow. He said, learn how to help people improve their lives through this medium that you have here. Move forward and learn how to lead. Learn how to inspire, and most of all, learn how to serve. Learn how to serve. The happiest people in the world are the people who are servants to other people's dreams and lives. The happiest people in the world. So the starting point, if you're going to make a change in your life, is to analyze your thinking. Be truthful about the conditions in your life. Take a serious look. What if that old man were here and gave you that advice? And he said, 1 year, no turning back. Focus your mind. Don't look back left or right. Will you do that? And you said, yes. And it was for the first time in your life, a yes you would never let go of. Guess what? You won't lose. There's just too many people in this world that will respond to what we have. The problem is you're not telling it to enough of them. Are you hearing me? You get 3 or 4 no's and all of a sudden, this thing won't work. Wimp right back into your wimpy world? Or stand up and say, if anybody can do it, I can. What is it I need to learn so I can get better? Where do I get my training? How do I come to the leaders' meetings when they put them on? How do I get on the conference calls when they're training? You see, that's what you need to do. It's a component. It's a necessary element of your growth. What are you reading? Probably not much of value. Tell the truth. What are you reading that grows you as a person? That teaches you the things you need to know to advance yourself in life? What are you listening to, and who are you listening to? There's your analysis. Start there. And if you'll tell the truth about what is influencing you right now, you will see the necessity of change. Success is not something to take for granted. And a lot of people, they reach a certain level of success and they actually believe they have arrived. And then they stop doing the things that brought them there, and they wonder why they're no longer a success. Did you hear Donald Trump, one of the wealthiest men in the world, speak about the word momentum? You work that hard to get there. I love what Artie says. Oh, you just made RVP? Great, you just started the business. Some of the RVPs looked at Artie like he was crazy. They actually thought they had arrived. Oh no, how many people in your group still aren't there? Now that's your job, isn't it? If your RVP isn't supporting you, isn't encouraging you, you should let him or her know. One other thing changed my entire career. And believe it or not, it was a cassette tape. I heard a tape that was given by a guy who was a researcher in a laboratory, a cancer researcher. And I heard him give a talk about a guy who was trying to recruit him into the company I was in. And this guy said that every time he saw this guy walk down the street, he purposely walked the other side because he didn't want to hear one more time about his great business opportunity. So I'm listening to the tape, and he said, one day I realized, he said, that things were beginning to shift in me because, you see, I would see Jim. He'd be in the restaurant sometimes, and he had a nice suit on. He never used to dress like that. He said, a year later, I see Jim in a brand new Cadillac and a nicer suit in the restaurant, looking very successful. And he said, I had a bad time. I was getting tired of what I was doing. And I thought, you know, maybe, just maybe, I should go take a look at what Jim is doing. Well, the story went on, and this guy became a huge success, and he talked about the things he had to learn coming from a professional world. Well, here's what I did. I had to look and look and look. I finally got permission to make 500 copies of that little cassette. Now my Saturday morning breakfast, here's what I did. I walked in, I had a pile of 100. And they were like $2 each, this little cassette. And I said, okay, we're going to part the waters today. I'm not working with one more of you. You might just as well quit. This guy knows what he's talking about and we don't. This guy knows how this business works and we don't. I'll just take them all. But if you're going to work with me from this day forward, we're going to put these things out in people's hands because obviously he's better than we are. We don't know how to tell it like he's telling it. Let's use it. It completely revolutionized my business. Now, how many of you have got the DVDs, the CD-ROMs? Some of you are so cheap you won't do it. And that you're going to say you want to build the business. You're going to want to keep blabbing from your own position, thinking you know how to say it better than when you got someone like Trump and other people to do it. Don't be foolish. Let me tell you something. How would you like to hire a salesman if you owned a company that never called in sick, can say the same story every time, 24 hours a day, okay, hardly ever breaks down, and you pay a pretzel to get that person? How many of those, if that was true, could you get? They don't want insurance policies, they don't want cars, and they don't want expense accounts. But they're going to tell that story perfectly the same way every single time. How many would you hire? See the thinking? See the thinking? And then my last part of my message is always about what I consider to be what I call the annealing cement of everything that works for the benefit of humanity. And it's one word with many dimensions. And it's called love. Old-fashioned, huh? Take a look at it. Love is soothing, it's warming, it's enriching to the spirit, the soul, the mind. It's all the things that we were instinctively and intuitively born to be in, to be surrounded with. Your natural state as a newborn infant was bliss for no apparent reason. Man, I was there this afternoon, we had lunch, and Frank and Tanya's new little baby, and I looked at that little child, and the little motions, and the little beautiful little features, and I saw the miracle all over again. And you know what went through my mind? God, how will we ever get good at keeping them close to that beautiful innocence where they're not afraid, everything's kind of okay, mommy and daddy's here, and then we get to them. We get to them with all our fears, with our lack of character, with our lack of discipline, with our lack of a good work ethic, and then we expect them to walk out in this world and be superstars. How does that match? It doesn't. So be persistent in what you do. Surrender to what it is you want. Surrender to it. That's the most powerful way to get where you want to go. Just say, hey, this is it. Come at me any way you want. I don't care. I'm going to the top.